Today's guest is someone whose story is woven with resilience, service, and heart. Dawn Stroud is a Louisiana transplant who now calls Austin home. She's a wife, she's a mom, and a proud grandma. She's a realtor, a veteran advocate, and someone who has spent her life showing up for others, both inside and outside of real estate. Dawn describes herself as an open book, and today she's excited to talk about something deeply personal: finding peace, finding happiness, and finding purpose through healing. This is a conversation about service, about family, and what it really means to keep moving forward, even when life gets heavy. I'm grateful you're here for this one. Let's get into it. Dawn, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Austin. I'm excited to do this podcast with you.
I want to get into the finding the peace and the happiness and the healing process. But first, I want people to get to know you. And so what brought you to Austin? Tell us about your grandbabies. Tell about your kids.
We during the pandemic, we kind of realized it was time for a change. My husband at that point was in the oil field. It was a very long drive from Shreveport-Bossier area over to Midland, Odessa. He's also a photographer, so Austin's scene kind of fit that piece of it. And I was a realtor. So, you just take your test and you go on and you pick up real estate wherever you go. I also had my son and my first grandson living with us, and it was very hard where we were at for him to find a job. So the move made it possible to make it a little easier on Joe. Really good for Gage and Gabriel. They're on their own now, doing very well. For me, I just roll with the punches. I always have. It's just my personality. You just got to pick yourself up and keep going.
Now, which one is your son?
Okay, Gage is my son, and then Gabriel is my oldest grandson.
Now, how many you got now?
I have 3 now. I have my daughter, Haley, and her partner, Casey. They have 2. So I have a middle grandchild, CJ, who is adorable. He's 3.5, and he has special needs. He's nonverbal autistic, but doesn't mean he doesn't communicate.
Of course.
And then I have the only granddaughter so far. Her name is Addison, and I call her Sassy because she is full of business.
In Louisiana, so you were in the Shreveport area, and now were you born in Louisiana?
I was born in Lafayette, below I-10. So everybody knows that makes you a coon ass. Lived in Pasadena. We moved from Lafayette to Pasadena when I was young, then back to central Louisiana, which is Wynn Parish.
Mm-hmm.
I have lived in Gulfport, Mississippi. I've lived in Corpus Christi. I've lived in North Dakota.
Well, awesome. So who shaped you early on in your early life?
Well, that's going to be a mixture of people. My mom and dad, of course. I'm the eldest of 4 girls, and we all survived, which is something because girls are mean.
I was about to say.
We fought like you wouldn't believe. Mama and daddy had their hands full. I was lucky enough to know great grandparents along with grandparents, so I learned a lot from them. Taking care of babies, gardening, animals, house cleaning, all the things. And then I played basketball. My dad played basketball. I was being the oldest of 4 girls. I was kind of the first boy. We fished, we hunted. I had to help with the yard work and stuff. And then we did some all stuff together, And then, of course, helping mama out was the house cleaning and the cooking and babysitting the little sisters and stuff. And then the grandparents, I learned church. I was in the church choir, cooking from scratch. Literally know how to slaughter a hog, render the fat, make the cracklings, do all I can do it with just about any animal.
Oh, I do love me some Cajun food. So are there any family traditions from Louisiana that you still carry on here in Texas?
Well, so there's a couple that are kind of personal. So the first would be when we decorate the tree, when we get the decorations out, is we listen to Elvis Christmas. My mom is a huge Elvis fan. She actually has an entire room in her house that is Elvis. Also read the Cajun Night Before Christmas. I did that with my kids and read it to the grandkids. And we make like homemade Christmas cookies, make the dough
Love
from
it.
scratch, cut it
Yep.
out, decorate it, whatever I can do with them, just
Hmm.
part of growing up. Back in those days, it wasn't all electronics. We literally sat down with our families and had dinner. They did all kind of things with us kids at the holidays, different holidays, different things, but everybody was involved. So I try to get them involved. Cooking, of course, it's a big thing. I'm just gonna say from Louisiana. Everybody likes to
Yeah.
eat. I'm a big girl. My husband's a big healthy boy. We just like to eat. So you got to know how to cook.
So, what's a lesson from your upbringing that you still continue and how that guides you of how you love and how you lead and how ultimately you serve so many different people?
Oh, the main takeaway from everything is just give it my all. Just if I'm going to do something, finish it. Don't something and quit. It may take a little while to get to the end goal, but don't quit. Keep going.
Yeah. No, that's great. Don, you've worn a lot of hats, as a realtor and a veteran advocate and a community supporter. How did you get into real estate?
Well, I spent 24 years in medical admin, practice management, independent office management. Started off as a secondary biller in a hospital system and worked my way up. I was a certified medical coder, got into as I just moved up, it just grew with me. But after 24 years, there were so many changes in healthcare, and it got to the point where it was no longer about the doctor taking care of the patient. It wasn't quality
Mm,
care. It was about the numbers and the systems I worked in. I'm not going to name any names, but it was more of the doctors had to see X number of patients a day.
hmm
Matter if it was a new patient, an established patient, did not matter. Have they had all these different tests and stuff? It was no longer about taking care of the person, the individual. It was about how many can we run through? What tests can we order? So given that, my husband actually talked me into it. He said, "You like to talk," which he's not wrong. So he said, "You like to talk. You've dealt with contracts and stuff." It took him a little while to convince me to get into it because I'm not gonna lie, I was scared, not knowing what to expect,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
But I just took my courses, took the test, which I've always been a good test taker, so that wasn't nothing, and then just kind of hit the ground running.
Now, were you in real estate in Louisiana first?
I started out when I was in the Shreveport Bossier area. I also drove down to central Louisiana because that's where I was raised around Wynn Parish. And so I was working Wynn Parish and then driving back up to Shreveport Bossier area and did really well, really well. I had some amazing mentors. Two of them have passed now. Misha Angel with Team Angel and her son J.R. Burt, they were so instrumental in things that I still do today with real estate. So when I came over to Texas, it just made sense. I studied before we moved, it was planned. So I did all my studying, took my tests and all, and came over here and just jumped in. That's what you do. You just jump in, feet first,
Yeah, feet
cannonball.
first, fully commit. One of the things that I've always respected about you is being so outspoken for our veterans in the real estate world, because for whatever reason, VA loans just don't have the best rapport in the industry. And so I've always seen you as just go, that full bore, full energy to support the veterans. So what made you get into that?
So my first husband was actually in the Navy. So I've been through some PCS and familiar with the language and stuff. And it just, I've always been a patriot. I guess from my upbringing, I had a lot of family members who were military, highly value and respect them for their
Hmm.
service. And it just made sense in real estate since I understood it. Why not? I mean, I've helped them move from England and Japan over to Louisiana and Texas, put them in connection with people through my military network if they're leaving whatever area I'm in to whatever state. And some have connections abroad as far as in Europe and stuff for when they're going back there. But I very opinionated about they don't get paid enough for what they do. They don't get enough respect. That could be a whole nother podcast on that issue. But I feel like they need somebody to support them the best that we can for now until things
Hmm.
can go through the Department of Veterans Affairs and the military.
On that same topic, what is something that people just misunderstand about working with veterans?
Well, if you just listen, they're pretty much going to tell you what they want, where they're buying or selling. They keep it simple. The VA loan is the easiest loan product I've dealt with, actually. As long as, I mean, the house just needs to be in good condition. They've got their certificate of eligibility. They're good to go. It closes. If a lender tells you this veteran is pre-approved, 0.9% of the time, you're going to go to the closing table. It's a very simple process. It's just easy. Everybody's afraid of it. I guess a long time ago, before I got into real estate, VA loans had a bad rep as they were so hard and they were so picky and stuff.
What is one standout moment that you've had with working and serving veterans?
Wow. I will say my first $1 million sale was with a veteran. He was moving back to the States from Thailand. He had been in Thailand, just chose to live over there for a while. When he came back, he could pay cash, but he said, you know what? He said, Dawn, I've never used my VA loan. Can I use it on this house? I said, yes, you can. And I put him in touch.
Absolutely.
And that was before we had moved, so it was in Louisiana, but put him in touch with the right lender. He put some money down and he got a VA loan.
Yeah.
So it was great. So on $1 million house, you make a sale with a VA loan. I mean, it doesn't get any
Yeah.
better than
No, absolutely not. So, is there a challenge or turning point in your career that you just pushed through and to help you get where you're at today?
in my career. Man, with that, it's just with my career wise, it's just rolling with the punches. Like right now, I'm not where I think I should be, but I guess I'm where I need to be right now because there's lessons to be learned at every step. Because we've talked about like the podcast before, that's mine is still in the works. And then we had some personal challenges. I had to take on 2 side hustles in addition to real estate.
Hmm.
So that has kind of changed the path a little bit. Doesn't mean the end goal's not there, but I think kind of rolling with it now because it's so much harder to deal with any type of financial hit now
Hmm.
versus 20 years ago.
Well, and let's be real. I mean, 2025 at the time of this being recorded is a challenging year. And, we came off of 2 of the best years that we've had. And, we're now in the second, going into the third, kind of right sizing of the Austin market and the Central Texas markets. The fact that you are still, with me today on the podcast and I see you every week at the office, you're still in it all day, every day. And so that's to be, that says a lot because a lot of people will just go get a quote unquote real job and to get, back on their feet. But you're resilient and you're still feet first in it.
I am. But it takes a lot to be a realtor and to be active in the real estate community. A lot of education, a lot of time, a lot of money. It's not cheap to be a realtor. It
No.
is not cheap to be a realtor. So I look at it, there's pros and cons, and looking at the big picture, it's like, damn, look how much I've spent and what I've done. There's still more to do. I just got to hang in there.
Hmm.
What else can I do to keep me going? Because it's just fitting all the pieces together and you just have to work it out as you move along.
So before we get into the fun of what you're doing for fun, when you're taking that relaxation and you're taking that breath, let's talk briefly, or as long as you want, about the finding the peace and happiness through healing.
So my first marriage was it was quite a struggle. I am a survivor of domestic abuse, and so are my kids. We went through hell. We went through hell. Emotional, physical, just every day for years. It was kind of like living with a terrorist, not to compare on the larger scale, but that's what it was like because I used to could tell by the way the truck came around the curve to pull in what kind of evening we
Mm, yeah.
um took a it was just I was not myself. I mean, everybody knows me as outspoken, I'm very opinionated. I'm going to say what I think. Well, I was that way when I was younger, but then when you spend 12 years with somebody who just constantly beats you down, you don't have your own opinions. You can't think for yourself. It's just you're on autopilot. I had kids to feed, had to take care of business for them. Everything else just didn't matter, right? So once I got out of that, we had the divorce. It was still about a 4 or 5 year struggle as far as custody because he fought me at every turn. And then when the kids were, I guess you'd say, aged out, we didn't have to worry about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't. Part of my peace is my current husband. So my current husband, Joe, I've known him all my life. We literally grew up in the same little community in Wynn Parish. We were about a mile from each other, I guess. I went to school from the first grade on. So
Mm-hmm.
literally, we know everything about each other, right? He came into the picture at the right time, and here's this. I went from being just high strung, tense, on edge all the time, every second of every day, waiting for that other shoe to drop. Do I duck? Do I run? Do I cover? Do I grab the kids? What do I do? Right. And then here he is. He's just laid back. Hey, you know, hadn't seen you. Let's catch up. We started dating and there's a whole story to that too. But he's just very level headed, and I just don't know how to put it. He is my other half. He is my rock. He is the calm in
Mm-hmm.
my storm. He has kept
Mm-hmm.
me flipping out, going off the deep end and stuff. So that was a huge piece in helping me heal in my brain, kind of the reconnecting and saying, okay, everybody's not going to do that to you, right? If he raises his hand, he's not raising his hand to hit you. He's pulling you in for a hug. He's holding your hand. He's patting your back. And the kids, once the kids met him and were around him, they've always loved him. I mean, not saying we didn't have some struggles, because you got a lot. There was a lot in the mixture, right? You had
Of course.
two kids who had been through hell. You had me who was just, I mean, my mind was literally like a ping pong ball in a rubber room at all times. And it just, as we progressed, and he hung around through the good, the bad, and the ugly, I'm going to tell you. It helped us all heal internally. And now, like, my daughter would never put up with that now. She had
Mm-hmm.
a role model to say, this is how the way I treat your mom is how you're supposed to be treated, right? And at this point, she knows all she's got to do is call mama, because this ain't the same chick who used to get knocked down, right? It's a private joke, and a lot of people won't think it's funny, but I literally bounce off concrete. It has been, yeah. So, I'm there for my kids now, and my son, it's kind of the opposite. He has full custody of my oldest grandchild. There is no mother in the picture. She was a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay. Got her some diabetes going on, created 9 kinds of havoc, and she was a little bit like my first husband. So, I'm there for him, whatever he needs. So this finding the peace and the happiness and stuff has been a long process of healing. Honestly, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. I have a book in the works, and I know I'm being like light and glib right now, but like in working on the book, I do that when I'm by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you are writing about these things, because you're trying to get your story out, you're back there mentally. It takes you back there mentally, and it's very hard, because then you have to, when it's time to stop, you got to shake it off. You have to get back in the present. You can't stay in that spot anymore. And I'm hoping with that, as I'm continue working on that, when I'm finished, I'm hoping that it reaches somebody who was like me, who didn't say anything. They kept it hidden. Well, I must have done something. And then it was just one time. Well, he apologized. Well, he brought me flowers or whatever. He had a bad day at work. All the things. There's so much to it. So I'm hoping it reaches at least just one person, to let them know, hey, you're not alone. Pick up that phone, grab somebody in the grocery store even, hey, I need help. So
Mm-hmm.
that goal with the book, and to help somebody, and also for me to complete the healing process.
Well, it's done. Well, first off, no woman, child, family should have to go through that. I truly believe that, God puts us in every situation for a reason. And so, yes, going through all the hard, and you being as resilient and tough as you are, in now you going through that process to write a book and just to help one person is that one person that ultimately needed the help. I'm currently writing my second book right now, which is, it's a nowhere near the kind of story that you're writing. There is something to be said about going through that process of putting it on paper or putting it in the computer. And, I'm going through my first, edit process right now. And so when I printed it all off and, I picked it up off the printer, and it was, it was hot and it was, fresh
Oh,
off the
yes.
press. And I was like, it was a really cool feeling that I had never experienced before, because I was like, oh, this is my story. So Don, I am so looking forward for you to do that for the first time, and what that will hold for you, and the story that you will be able to tell, not just anybody and everybody that needs it. So when you do take a step back, because I can only imagine that mindset that you're having to be in, because yes, you are taking yourself back into that place. So when when you're done, okay, I need a breath, I need to take a breath, and I'm walking away from the computer, what are you doing for fun?
What do I do for fun? Okay, so people think I'm a little nutso, which I am. I mean, I'm a postmenopausal woman, so yeah, I'm a little nuts. Um, I love to be by myself, turn on the music in whatever kind of mood I'm in. I mean, it's eclectic. It could be 80s, it could be Barry Manilow, it could be gospel, it could be classical, doesn't matter. I have a concert and I clean the house. I like
Love
to
it.
read a good book. That's what I enjoy. That helps me just down, just kind of brings me down to earth, centers me.
Hmm.
And I do like a clean house. I like a clean space. One thing I've noticed, you'd think with no kids at home and stuff, it'd be easy, right? No, it's not. I technically work 3 jobs. I have a dog. There's laundry to do. Every once in a while, I like to spend some time with my husband, right? When he's not working. There's all these things going on, and it's not what you think when everybody's out of the house. It's not just, oh, you just pick up here and there and the house stays clean. No, that's not how it happens. So to me, having that, try to get things neat and tidy, do some like meal prepping, I call it, but it's like making big pots of something. Like this week is Thanksgiving. I'm making a big pot of gumbo, and then we're going to do some hamburger
Mm,
grill. So, hey, we got dinner for quite a few days off of that.
absolutely. So when you're not cleaning, you're not doing those different things. What are you doing?
Ooh, I love to read, and if I get in a good book, I don't put it down. I read it till I'm done.
Hmm.
It can be a romance novel. It can be any kind of thing. Self-help book, it doesn't matter. But if I'm into it, I'm going to read it all the way through, and I can't put it down. I'll walk around putting dishes up or putting clothes in the washer with a book in my face. If it's like, I don't know, sometimes I'm just in the mood. I want to binge watch old movies. Rocky Marathon. Everybody rolls their eyes in the house because I will watch one through the end through Apollo. Okay. I'll watch
Wow.
Creed all the way through. I just watch them all. I don't know why. I love Band of Brothers. Still watch Steel Magnolias. I mean, it's eclectic. It's whatever my mood
Hmm.
is.
Of course.
I like reading, clean space. We recently went to Terlingua to Big Bend,
Love it.
and that was awesome.
Is that your first time?
Yes, and for me, so I took my iPad thinking, well, I know myself. I'm addicted. I'm going to check emails and I'm going to be working.
Hmm.
No, you're not. No,
No.
because about an hour or an hour and a half out of Terlingua, cell service goes, psst, done. You have none. Once you get into Terlingua, you have a little bit of cell service, but it's just the whole town is just on an even kill. Not a lot of stuff going on. They're very proud of the fact you can see the night sky at night.
Hmm.
Not a lot of street lights and stuff. We did have Wi-Fi where we stayed at, but I didn't
You
work.
didn't want to.
I didn't. I thoroughly enjoyed just kind of relaxing, and we went from one end of the park to the other. I mean, as much as we could cover in the days that we had, and it was beautiful. The change in the landscape, whether you were like far away from the river or whether you was close to the river, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
There is nothing better from a disconnect from a personal healing, from just letting the weight of the world just go away, from just being out in nature. And especially in a place like, like Big Bend, where you're forced to disconnect.
Yeah.
And to be honest, even if you had, your full cell phone reception, chances are you don't want to, because when you look up in that sky and you see everything and you're like, oh wow,
Right.
you're just like, no, that can wait.
Yeah. Been a long time since you seen a night sky like that. Like I was what
Hmm.
had a coyote walk up to me. I was outside one night and he was just looking at me at the end of the little porch there at the hotel. He was just looking at me like, "Hey, what you doing?"
So, Don, have you picked up anything new lately that is helping you on your personal healing journey besides writing the book?
Thing new, kind of relearning to draw some boundaries and making my things a priority and myself a priority, whether it's walking, whether it's taking 30 minutes of leave me alone. I've had to leave me alone. I need my time here. Relearning to draw boundaries because I tend to, I guess it's the mother hen in me being the oldest of the
Hmm.
four, having the kids, all the things. I tend to want to take care, make sure everybody's good. What else can I do? Are you good? Are you good? And then it's 11 o'clock at night and it's like, well, I got to go to bed now, So
So, well, especially being in the world of real estate, where if clients, or hopefully they're not calling at, 10, 11 o'clock at night, but sometimes they'll text or sometimes they'll just email because it's on their brain. And, and being that servant minded professional that you are, you want to go straight into, I got to answer this email. And,
drive
and I'm
crazy.
sure Joe's looking at you just like Amy looks at me. It's like, are you really answering an email at 10:30 at night? And it's like, it'll be a minute. And next
Yeah.
thing you know, it's 30, 45 minutes later.
Yes. Yes. It happens, but we got to draw those boundaries and tell them, okay, there's no emergency. And one thing I've come to realize, there's no emergency after 10 o'clock at night until let's just say 7, 8 the next morning in real estate, unless it
Hmm.
burns down. Now, then you got it. Then you got an emergency, right? But as far as the contracts and the title and the appraisal and any of these other things, nobody else is working during, from probably about 7, honestly, till
Hmm.
8 the next morning. So there's nothing that's going to change what's happening during that time frame. So we might as well relax.
Absolutely. So when you get out of bed and you're like, okay, I'm ready to get the day started, your feet are planted, what's driving you every single day?
Well, besides liking electricity and not living in the vehicles, keep moving forward. I want to get to the spot where I was closing minimum 24 transactions a year in real estate and be able to travel more and spend more time with the grandkids. Because we all
Hmm.
know, realtor, you take a vacation or go away for a couple of days, business picks up. So it's just trying to do that work life balance. That's the biggest thing. I don't want a mansion, nothing like that. Just want to be able to have food on the table at home, keep the lights on, but I want to be able to spend a lot of time with the grandkids, and of course they need spoiling, right?
Of course.
I mean, they need things. They need things. They don't have enough toys. They don't have enough electronics. I mean, all the things. They've never been to certain places. I gotta take them there. I gotta take them to these places, right? Um, just real simple. I just want to be able to spend time with the family and take some trips and go see some things, and that's it. Simple.
So what's, what's in store for the future? You've got the podcast on the horizon, you've got the book on the horizon. What's in store for Don, in 5 years from now? Where are
Years.
we at?
Where are we at? We're done with the book. We got the podcast rolling, and the next thing for me is stepping out of the comfort zone, stepping out of the box, and getting those weekly videos done for things. I go to all these different houses, I go all these different things, and I never take a video. And I see people all the time. Everything they do, they've got the camera up, they're doing the videos, right?
Hmm.
It's just not me. But in today's world, you have to adapt to what is happening. You just have to. I got to quit being a secret agent and put all the things out there that I do because nobody's going to
Mhm.
know unless I tell them about it. So we have to be our own cheerleader nowadays. So I see myself, rocking the podcast, done with the book, and where I want to be with real estate, and able to spend more time with, like, with Joe, with the grandkids, doing a little bit of travel.
Well, I will tell you one thing that, you know, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, a little bit of a control freak, as I think most real estate agents and lenders are. I've been talking about doing this podcast for, I don't know, 2 years, and or a version of this style of a podcast for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And, I was like, okay, I'm thinking through it. And I was talking to my dad, and he was just like, well, you know what I'm about to say, right? I was like, yes. And it's literally what he has told me my entire life. There's two things he's told me my entire life. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But I'm like, well, yes, but it's going to hurt along the way. And then the second is anything worth doing is worth doing poorly as long as you evaluate and correct it and make it better along the way. And so, that's kind of where this podcast started. Like, listen, this thing's going to be rough in the beginning, but I think it's worth doing
Yeah.
well in the future. And so, because if I just plan and plan and plan and plan and plan, I'm never going to actually implement the
Right,
plan.
right. Because you can always change the plan and revamp what you're thinking. I changed the name of mine, I can't tell you how many times. I recorded the introductory episode 4 times on 4 different platforms. So now it's like, I know what I wanna do. I'm not afraid to talk. Now it's just pick the damn platform and go.
Hmm.
That's now.
Yeah. Well, so Don, as we wrap up here, when you imagine the legacy that you want to live for your family, for your clients, for the veteran community, for those that are needing the peace and the healing, what does that look like?
I guess once, bringing all these things together that I'm working on, having somebody remember that I did go that extra mile for them as far as the veterans or the real estate, and having my grandkids remember the memories with Nanny, as they call me, remembering all the things that we did with them growing up, because those, I mean, you can't take away people's memories, right? And that lasts a lifetime. Memories
Hmm.
last a lifetime. So giving people those special memories, that's what it looks like. Because you can't
Fantastic.
take 'em away, you can't throw them away. They're with you.
Love it. Who is someone in your life that people should know or should know about that's helped you along this journey and path?
Well, that'd be my husband, Joe. Not only, like I said, he's my rock. He's the calm in the storm, but he's also a phenomenal photographer. He's not, I mean, he's self-taught a lot, but he actually has a degree. He can do all these different types of photography. He astounds me with his knowledge. He does film photography, wet plate photography, digital photography. He's good at it. I mean, he's really good at it. And I think people ought to check out his Instagram, and just sit and talk to him or ask him what motivates him. Like I said, he's quite phenomenal. He's been through a lot, himself. So yeah, he's
Well, it
he's
sounds
got
like he's somebody we need to have on the podcast.
ooh. Yeah, now if I could get him to, that'd be great.
So we'll do me a favor, send me his Instagram handle and we'll put it in the show notes. And so that way people can see it and they can look him up as
Absolutely.
well. Don, last question. So what's one thing you hope listeners will feel, learn, or walk away from with your story?
Hmm. Just keep on moving. Keep the movement going. Don't stop. Don't give up. Even if you have a couple of days you're just down in the dumps, whatever, you're allowed to feel that. Just get up. Let's just keep going, because you never know what's going to happen. Get up. Get out of the house. Go to work. Make the phone call. Talk to the person. Smile at the person in the grocery store. Whatever it is, and keep going. Keep that forward momentum. Don't stop.
Fantastic. Well, Don, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you all so much. Don, thank you for spending this time with us. And,
Thank you
all
so
of
much.
Don's contact information will be listed there in the show notes, along with her Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram handles. Highly, highly recommend working with Don on the real estate side of things. Don, once you do have that book finished and the podcast launched, we will absolutely make sure to update these notes as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Austin. I appreciate you.
You're so welcome. Have a great one, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to speak directly to our veterans and military families listening today. VA loans are one of the most powerful home financing tools out there. No down payment, no monthly mortgage insurance, and flexible guidelines that were designed to serve those who served. Unfortunately, they're also one of the most misunderstood loan programs in the market. If you're a veteran or working with one and you've been told a VA loan isn't an option, there might be more flexibility than you realize. Helping veterans understand their options and building a long term stability through home ownership is a big part of what we do. If you'd like to learn more or want a second opinion, you can connect with me through the link in the show notes. If this conversation resonated with you, please like this episode, subscribe to the show, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don's story is a reminder that healing isn't linear. Purpose evolves and peace is worth pursuing. And remember, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen more, talk less, have impactful conversations. We'll see you on the next episode.